Hi everybody, I'm Jess, your go-to Road to Kingdom dance analyst, and we are here for part 2 of Challenge 2 of Road to Kingdom 2, Ace of Ace, and we have THECREWONE, TEMPEST, and ONEUS up for bat right here for their identity challenge. I'm excited. We got the full cams right here, ready to go, and I'm pretty pumped for this because I was so looking forward to seeing what they were going to be doing here. I know one of them's given Harry Potter vibes, one's given a Mad Max vibes, one's getting Alice in Wonderland, so I think it's going to be super fun to dive in, give our thoughts, and see how it all plays out. So let's go ahead and get started. So they went with attitude, ATBO. Oh, come on. A bunch of magic tricks. Come on. That's such a dope prop. Yeah. Woo! Yeah. How they did the composition here is really good. Yeah. I'm so glad that JUSTB went with this song. Yes. It's one of the best songs in their whole discography is this mess right here. Got a Dementor. Oh, he just decided to just... Ooh. Ooh, cool. This part right here. They really pulled out all the tricks, literally. Yeah. Wow. Cool. Okay, so normally what I do in Kingdom or Queendom when they do a challenge of any kind, I normally have reference material to look at. This is the one challenge I don't believe I need to because I've already marathoned all of the tracks that are going to be used in this challenge. So here, I've already analyzed Attitude by ATBO as well as Get Away by JUSTB. So I'm already very familiar with those, and JUSTB's track specifically is on my Spotify playlist. I love it. literally one of my favorites. Now, overlying thoughts. They really did cater this beginning to the camera. I understand that for them, they're sitting in the hot seat, so this is definitely, I can feel the desperation of pulling out as many stops as possible. I totally get it, because a turn was just like that as well, right? And so I do think that is a bit unfortunate. If I was in the live audience, it would be really hard for me to see some of these moments. As well as the overview of Harry Potter, I'm going to give it the same note that I gave to the previous challenge. Whenever we encounter a concept that's pretty niche and you have to kind of be there to kind of get it, or you kind of have to know what it is to get it. So for me, very familiar with the Harry Potter franchise, but we have to assume that some people aren't, even though this is technically more of a global phenomenon than most things, which I think is super cool. But we have to always assume that we have to think a little bit more universal. Good versus evil is way more universally palatable than a niche within a show. So for me, I think the opposition of the red and the green was a great choice, especially with the LED screens. I think my one note was the usage of the Dementors. I think that was a really tricky thing there, because I don't think we quite needed them. They didn't create any function with the story or anything along those lines. And Dementors are technically the guards of Azkaban, and we know there's a heavy Death Eater affiliation with Slytherin, but remember, very, very niche information that you have to kind of assume your general audience or the general public may not know, and that's okay to operate it that way. So this beginning, we have this little illusion. I don't know if this is just a dancer. They brought in a magician just for this moment. Something along those lines. We have somebody that's asleep with a heavy, heavy fog. We have a camera on the way we can't really see. I do know CRAVITY also has that habit right now where they're really, really catering to camera, which hasn't really worked against them thus far. So, I mean, we pick our battles for that. I always prefer their stage, or any stage, to be one that holds its own in the live audience, especially if they have as much of an influence in the voting. And then the camera is also really good to have, like having a hybrid for both. So that's once again my preference on a competition thing for sure. So that's going to be the note I give this. We have a lot of fog on hands for sure. Then we have this lot of very comical, very whimsical, right? Super cool. He wakes up. Very nice. He undoes the blanket, shakes his head. He's like, oh, what's going on? Cool, we're here for it. He goes, he grabs, and he's like, oh, I'm running late. And then he goes, oh my goodness, what's going on? Everybody's walking around, some people in the cloaks. We have this brick. It does give the impression of a train station. Now, if you are niche in the Harry Potter franchise, you understand 9 3/4 is the specific, we're here at the station, but we have to think, is he already there? Is he not? 9 3/4 doesn't technically exist unless you're in the wizarding world. So I guess my assumption is his bed already in the wizarding world? Would be your guess here. Don't quite know that. But I know that we're paying more tribute to the idea with these little, Easter eggs. It goes into the thing of good versus evil. You wanna focus more on that than the niche, but the niche is there in order for people to, to have that sense of nostalgia, which I certainly do. So they're walking around looking a bit frazzled. Song's completely rearranged, which I love, and you can hear the attitude all dropped out, and all this arrangement in the back is completely different. He goes, that's my attitude, and he has this moment, yeah, da-da-da-da, ooh, so he's already in a different fit compared to everybody else. We do have somebody with this, it does kind of low-key look like a bellhop kind of cloak right over here, but we do know it is the Gryffindor, or the good guys in the franchise. I mean, no, there's not inherently good or bad, it's just how it is. But then you have some of our guys in the gray, they come in, they're like, hey, we're here, very studious, ready to go. Awesome. He throws his suitcase away. We have this little accent on the side, so I like how we go and we fan it over. We do have somebody that's catering the bed away, but because of her camera shot, we're not quite seeing that. And of course, it's in that red. It kind of bleeds over. Nothing crazy there. They go bleed over to the sides. I like the little head ISO on that. We have somebody place the jacket on him, which is fine, and then we have somebody drop down. The turn is nice, and go hit it over down. So there's a chance maybe picking the track attitude out of all of ATBO's tracks gives the, maybe the wordplay helps cater to this whimsical mystery vibe, potentially. They go nice little with the, oh my gosh, with the ripple, which is cool. They go nice little knees, travel it up. Nothing crazy there. We have this lightning, nothing, inherently crazy there either, but it does look like we have another magic trick. He has it it's a book that turns into a hat. But then you do kind of see a little bit of the magic right there, you know, so it's just a bit of a logistic error. And now we've changed the color, more purple. Shows the contrast with the red very well, which we're here for. So we have a lot of more of that militant because of the percussion. We have a little bit of a stiffer kind of transition happening with our dancers. It looks nice. Walking forward, he grabs it, da-da-da-da. And then we have Mr. Basket Run members coming in from both sides. They hit it over, boom, hit, boom, hit. So we have the strings building, more percussion building in the orchestra. He hits it there. Now, as he holds it, I'm assuming he's supposed to hold it up like an actual top hat. I don't know if it's a real top hat where he can actually put it on. Don't quite know those things. Comes in. There's that da-da-da-da-da-da. Take it, but fake it. That part, I don't know if I ever really liked in the original track anyway. So that's probably why I'm a bit indifferent to this da-da-da-da-da-da. It doesn't really match my personal vibe on a progression on a track, but that's just my preference, and I think that's fine. And I love the fact I know the tracks enough to be able to pick up on it and not be turned off by it here, but just kind of just tolerate it personally. Just that little section of this track, but I like the track though. So then they do a smidgen of a struggle to close that door. Nothing crazy though. And then we have this little moment, dee, 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 dee. So we've technically only seen one ace. Now, you notice what's going on in the top here. I kind of like it. And it reminds me of, I think it was CRAVITY set from last week. I think that would have been something I personally would have preferred them operating and doing by transitioning the props to still cater to your live audience in comparison to what they did, which was the piano camera shot. But we already tackled all of that stuff last week. But this is a good example if you've watched that and now you're watching this of what I mean. But I don't mind the transition as much. It's kind of dope with how you have somebody there. He's not really distracting, and then you have the little spiral staircase is nice. Definitely feels that we're having a moment. I like that attitude. This is such a big prop. Then you have others. So he's sitting there. He's all catered away. We have a new, not really new, but it's just a member that's featured. Dun, dun, dun. Attitude. So all of this there, nothing crazy. He whimsically just trots down. That's fun. You have, of course, the chandeliers, the library. So they're framing it pretty well. This is a really, really dope prop. If I had a Harry Potter dance, I would die for this prop, so I would use it myself. It's so cool. Dancers move away. You have your members. Who needs dancers there, right? So he has a little wand there. Now, if you didn't know Harry Potter, you know, there wouldn't be anything that would give the function of why he has a wand, right? So that would be my note there, at least creating a function of discovery of a wand. Just like in the franchise, Harry didn't just acquire a wand, he went somewhere, and there was storytelling throughout the movie that was kind of creating a sense of function that allowed the audience to understand, you need to have a wand in order to do certain things at the school. Do you know what I mean? And even if people have read the books, going into the movie, no one assumes that somebody has just read it before, unless it's a part of a series. Here, they didn't build this lore or anything. I kind of feel like, did we do away with the hourglass timepiece? Part of me is kind of glad they did, because it wasn't really hitting ever, and I gave a lot of notes on that analytically, but my notes still stand. I do feel like introducing the wand feels more, hey, look at this niche we're doing Harry Potter, we got our wands, not there's a reason why I have it, if that makes sense. But I love what he did, though. The arrangement is freaking sick. It's cool. Then we have, of course, the Slytherin coming in hot, so we have a different color suit. He hits it over, and drop a little sparks. That's cool. Just like they gave him the coat, it could have been an interesting thing to workshop, getting him the wand in some way, not just him having it. And then we have somebody there already. I mean, it's nice that he's kind of standing there being very clear that we got something that's about to happen, which is cool. What is going to happen, we're about to find out. It goes don'ts, and then it goes negative. He has fire, which is super cool. Goes away. Now the green, I love it. So using the smoke, using those things, it shows a degree of something's off about him, right? And then you have dancers come out. Then you have this little Dementor guy, right? And I think my note kind of still stands. Why is he reaching to this ghost-like figure? We don't know. Because I mean, I'm thinking too, and this is the problem too, when you know too much, you find holes in the performance, right? That's the kind of the tricky balance. That's why I kind of steer away from using, like, focusing solely on concept for justification, but also some people rely upon a niche too much in order for an audience to feel entertained. So I think that's still, I'm still going to give it that no, everybody gets equality, no matter the familiarity of the franchise I'm becoming on, but I don't know why. Is that it's not a Patronus or anything. If you don't know what a Patronus is, it's a little light animal that ends up coming out whenever somebody does a what's it called? Expecto Patronum. It's a spell, and it's like a little light animal situation. And so that's a Dementor. Would be my natural assumption. He turns around. I think snakes would have made more sense, but honestly, no. I think nothing really would have made sense. Like, we have this corridor out here. Why did it all of a sudden change to that, right? It feels like we're paying, it's a tribute. It feels more like that than anything. But I like the idea they went with. I do think we could have workshopped it to make it a little bit more digestible for somebody who has no idea what this is, you know. Yeah, I love the energy. The fullness on that is so cool. I do remember they had like a heavy crumb posture in this. And I do remember saying, whenever, I don't know if it was when I did my whole little commentary on each team or what, but I said this track, Getaway by JUSTB, would be really cool on the full outness. It was just a little dream of mine. And the fact that they're doing this song out of all of them, I feel like a kid on Christmas, honestly. The pickup is cool, hit and hit and hit and hit, and then they do a jab sequence, which is cool, spreading it out. It does look a smidgen messy, not quite sure where anybody is. Yes, we have our aces splitting center, thank you for that, but our dancers, they're not really defining many levels or anything. We have the staircase that we could be using to help with this. I know he jumped down, very dramatic, we love that. The fire is cool, makes sense, the fire does place well because he did a whole fire trick. It was sick, right? Now, there's our levels, which is nice, and then we throw, golly, the energy is sick, and I bet you the energy was really captivating when they did this live, because I can feel it right here, right? The swing, of course, you have your ace. He went the other way. Part of me wishes that the other guys also matched him, so it felt like a clean mirror, but I understand why he ended up for it. So we have this punch. I love the drop backs, which are super cool. The hinges, using the hip. Like, I think one of our dancers does it pretty well. Like, he does it pretty well, but I have to be mindful of the knees. I think my guy right here does it pretty well. You can see a little arch of the back where you hinge back, and then I'm assuming you're going to come right back up. So I like that punch, and they come right back up. Yeah, dancers are pretty clean over here on stage left. Way to go. And they go ba-boom, ba-boom. Look at the angles with the arms. That was really cool there. And then the fire for days. Negative screen, I'm assuming falls for a transition. The height is much more neat with our members, of course, with one outlier. Our dancers, I think, could have raised their legs a little bit more. Hitting it over, that's a Superman from side to side. I love the choir in the back, definitely gives that like, oh, very dramatic vibe, right? So it kind of feels like we went from Harry Potter movie 1 and we skipped to number 7, right? We missed a lot of context. I think that's kind of how it feels. Punch, 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 punch. It goes away, dee-dee-dee-dee-dee, and then our Mr. Cameraman comes out. I mean, I understand the Korean shows, people are more understanding, especially if they're fans of the audience who have the privilege of going to music shows. It's still considered a distraction for me as just a viewer. If I was sitting back here, that would just be my note. So they run away, so it's fun. They hit with the accents. All right, and punch, punch over. Now notice these little ghosts here. Are we using the ghosts to showcase a sense of evil in the air? Dementors aren't technically inherently evil. They're just gatekeepers. They're like they're the guards of Azkaban. So I don't know. I feel like somebody described them, and somebody in this comment section is probably gonna know way more than I. But I never saw Dementors as evil. I just saw them as manipulated by more powerful evil people. It's kind of what it gave me the impression on. But that little moment right there, man, I wish I would have saw it in action. I get to see it in the episode, so fear not. But that did look very cool, right? So, when we hit over, yeah, that kick, it was a fixed point, so it was like a 540 almost, right? But we just kind of kicked over. It definitely had like a martial arts influence behind it too. But notice we're still not using the staircase. I feel like it would be cool, but of course the stairs, they do look a bit narrow, so I can understand why a lot of our energy or our movement would be very restrictive. It's good for extras, like kind of hanging out there, not quite for full out movement, you know. So I know they're really trying to go for it. I like the kick to promote the transition over to the side. And then from there, nothing crazy here. For me, if I had wishful thinking, if we had a red and a green, I think a blue, all of the other guys just rep in Ravenclaw, I think would have been really dope. But that's nothing crazy. Or maybe doing their accent colors match the good and evil, so you would have had little posses that kind of come along that really reinstate these opposing forces of leaders. But that's all, once again, just workshopping, and behind the scenes we'll probably tell way more on that. So the little Dementor's hanging out right there. Bless them. It's kind of like, okay, now we're back to was it the third movie, right? The hit and punch, dee-na-na. Brings it around, and then you still have the guy on the camera, so he's having his moment. Yeah! And then he has the smoke in his hands. So why does that not feel as impactful? It is because we already saw this gimmick in the very beginning. But is it cool? Of course it's cool. It's smoke coming from your hands. So you have this fire, and then you have this smoke. Cool. Then it also, we kind of did away, who needs wands when you can just spout fire from your hands, you know? I think that's kind of my note I'll give there too. And I like the tension with the crawl up is cool. Now they're all walking up, nothing crazy there. And we're walking. I also feel too, when we do choose to go, it's not, I wouldn't consider it Broadway or anything like that, but it does give more of a Broadway-esque kind of setup, or the kind of structure they're doing. If you're doing a storyline, I don't think they are doing a storyline, if I'm being honest. I know they're doing a good versus evil, and that's pretty much the extent of it. You have your wands here, but he didn't use the wand for the gimmick. He used his hand for the gimmick. So it kind of feels like it's just there as decoration. It doesn't have any power of influence in the function of the storyline. But anyway, so the headbangs, come on now, and I like the full energy that we see here with all of our dancers, good levels on that. This is what I'm talking about. I like the level utilization on the staircase, a little partner work section, which is nice. Little crisscross with a jack, big body roll, boom with an accent on the tail end of the torso. And then we go bleed it up, and then we raise our wands. Now, how cool would it have been if fire shot out of those wands instead of his hand? That's just my preference. Could they have realistically done that? I don't know, but he had his moment, so he did a little fire moment, and now it's his little singing moment. Was he supposed to emulate the wands? Possibly, don't know. LEDs would have been a cool option to help fire it off. There's options. I feel like there's a lot of opportunities for workshopping, but there's a huge turnaround time for these types of sets, so we got to give them grace on that. The walks. Yeah, and then how they walk to their spot. For me, it just feels like a walking transition that we're kind of supposed to ignore it because it's a little bit darker, but you can still kind of see them. So that would be my note, to possibly, on the choreography direction, make that a little bit cleaner, at least a mirror transition, meaning that you have people on both sides that are, making similar choices, so it feels a little bit more cohesive. That's just my preference, though. Then we go, then pull in, and then they go and trot down. And yes, they gotta watch their step. They're not even holding the guard rails. Be safer. They hit it through a little pull in. That was a really nice pull in. And then they bleed the energy, hit, and we accent to the inside. That rum pum pum pum. Look at his energy. Pick up there, and the hit and the boss. Nice. And he hits it, boom, boom. I like that little rotation on that. He hits it, which is nice. Attitude. Big jump, wow. And then we go build it up. Then you have those little Dementors coming back in, and he throws. I like that. That was a nice energy. I will say they have a good chance of scoring pretty high on the ace because of the energy they have, and you can tell who your aces are. There's no doubt about it. They really do a good job on showcasing, I am evil, I am good. Like, they do well on that. Now, the set as a whole, I don't quite know. The vibration to the inside is really nice. And they hit it over, boom, boom, hit, accent. And then go into attitude, and then there's your opposing sides. But I'm gonna be honest, we got one of them in green hanging out on stage left with the red, and then someone in red and the green. So whenever you think about these two forces, it kind of feels disconnected from the actual positions of the aces. So that would be my note there. And the fire there, of course, we love that, and the fire on the LEDs is cool. And then we have it with the attitude. Yeah, and I don't think it would bother me as much if they ended up switching back over, but they didn't, right? The levels are there, really nice. They drop down, they come right back up, they push forward. I like that hit and a really full, pushing the energy over from side to side. Oh, it's naturally lower level from everybody projecting their energy forward, having your feature up. Nice to see the difference. And so, which is cool. Also, really good note to give them, complimentary, is whenever we have others that are wearing the same fits as other members, we can still clock them as who is featured when. So that's a pretty good job, because a lot of times people can feel a little bit overlooked whenever they're wearing the same thing. That's always the risk you have when everyone wears the same stuff. That, I think, was my big note I gave the new 6, because I could not tell you who my aces were. Their team set was really nice, but I do feel that they're unfortunately the ace ranking side may be a little bit trickier to find personally. But anyway, they hit the triple, and then they drop the level on it. I love the intensity. Guys, they met the intensity of the track, which is really hard to do. Like, that's like rookie energy you have to pull, and it's just a different breed of energy. None of them are rookies anymore, so the fact they have that full out energy makes my heart soar. They're giving the song justice with the arrangement. We love it. And the switch, click, 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 click. The numbers are great. And they go, we got it. So they all look, boom. And then he pushes them all to the side. They look with the head. Then we have our 2 aces. They look forward. Now look, we have the green and the red, and they're on the right sides. And then we have the with the fire. They all sit down. So now they both rule the school. Is their peace? We were so angry, and now we're not. You know, I guess we just needed to just be mad at the fact we don't have Christmas. I don't know, but in general, they did pretty good. I think there was just some pretty big holes on justification of concept, which I will stand by. Even though I'm very familiar with the franchise, the note still stands, because I try to be as objective and unbiased as possible, regardless if I know the concept. Okay, here we go. Next, we have Tempest, Can't Stop Shining. Guys, when I tell you, when I heard the trailer of the next episode, and I heard they were gonna do this song, this is also a Spotify playlist, the only song of Tempest that's on my playlist. I'm so happy. Here we go. I'm excited. Tempest Ace, he makes it very clear. Dark 1. Ooh. Goodbye. It's another person. Is this another ace? Now I don't know this song. Okay. I think it was like a little Ninja Warrior trick that it didn't quite work. Ah, man. One of our aces looks like a Cheshire Cat hybrid, doesn't he? Okay. Camera guy's coming out. Aww. Okay. Oh, their mics though. They were going for it on the live vocals. Okay, so I don't technically know Eye of the Tempest very well, so I can't speak on that one. With Can't Stop Shining, I don't believe they really changed a ton about it. The BPM range stayed pretty similar. They also, a lot of the choreo, I felt had a lot of similarities. It didn't quite feel, it felt more like an encore in comparison to a competition routine for a show like this. So I do not know how this group is going to fare for this challenge, which is unfortunate. And it's hard. Like, here's the thing, I don't like saying that, but I also don't want to be untruthful either on like the realistic, when you look at what is normally done, or when you look at a structure of choreo on a stage, the flow of choreo, I really don't. There is a disconnect between what we're trying to go for in the usage of the gimmick whimsical effect and the tracks themselves. It kind of feels more like decoration, not functionality, and I think that's a really, really big no. I can see a heavy Alice in Wonderland influence for sure, but it doesn't feel cohesive really at all. Now this right here, he says, whoa, where am I? You know, the beginning, I think this was kind of good. The setup was nice, and you have these little, you know, things don't look quite right. Normally, whenever you see a deck of cards, things don't quite look that tilted, right? And then we have the little sounds mischievous. You see this little keyhole. This is pretty big in comparison to a normal keyhole that you may see. They're normally really tiny. And then you have a little staircase, nothing crazy. You see everything more spirally. You can see the heavy Alice in Wonderland influence is considered a classic fairy tale, but there's some people who have no idea what Alice in Wonderland is. They just think there's a lot going on stage. I get that, right? So you have the little pickups right there. So you see people pop out of the side. So it does look like we have some dancers that are creating an environmental factor, which is fun. The reach ups, and then they're all looking. He's like, a little curious. So I like these little peekaboos of the bunnies. It was fun. And then we go, I like this moment here. So he makes it plain as day that he is our ace, and it shows that way as well. So I think that's really nice to see. So let's actually talk about the choreo now. So he goes, does a little port de bras, he extends that leg behind him. They fold over. I like the arm extension with the fold. I like that angle. It's really, really nice. And they go wee all the way across, and then we drop. So I like the canon of this. And then we do have our nice little arms to leg moment as he does his turns, which we like. Going back, what did he do right before there? So I like his, little wave moment before he turns all the way through. Yeah, the canon's really nice, and he finishes over to the side, and then they all roll, they down, and then they come up as they cross. Really nice timing from our ace with our dancers. Then they drop down. I think just the last two cannons or ripples from our dancers, I think could have been a smidgen more refined, like those beginning ones, which are fine. He climbs up. What's about to happen? I do find it interesting that I don't think he clocked the keyhole, right? But I don't know if he was supposed to. Now you see all these cards falling. Feels like there's something being sucked into the keyhole, right? I don't know. Now they have this little partnering moment with our dancers, and they all peel it down. He has a nice waving moment. He peeks it out like we're going on an adventure. I can feel that. Like, I know they've had lore with the lighthouse and all of that. Adventurous vibes from Tempest from the entirety of their time, which is cool. Now, will the audience understand that? I don't quite know. You know, that would be the only reason why I would see him do this right here when there's no context of being at sea that would require that kind of usage of a telescope. I don't, what are those called? Like the handheld ones. Oh man, my brain needs to do better today. Anyway, but he goes, he swings it up, and then he hits it over. Now, I've seen this many a times, not just with Tempest, but with many groups. It's just a fun little wave over that we've seen before in other cases, so that's a fun moment. Now, notice that he's catering more towards the front of the platform. It's because he's probably about to pop through in the back. Now you have your dancers they take their energy up, and then they go down. Not quite a full basket run, but that's about a basket run quality transition, right? So he goes up and he falls down, and they go wee down, and then we have a motor jacket, right? And that's where it feels like we're being teleported. That made sense, right? Now we're here. Now we have a galaxy, and now we have another member out and about, and then we have our head swing with the snakes, and we accent back, and we go and we build it up. Cool. Now, I can't tell you how this one's reworked, and I think I already kind of mentioned that. I do feel like there's a chance that those strings that we're hearing are not in the original, just based on context of just how it's arranged. And he goes and he hits it around, and then we have somebody else coming down. So we're not really doing that great of a job. And then none of this has anything to do with Tempest. It has to do with the performance direction. It's kind of like, where do you want me to inherently look? Because I do see a member climbing down from the stairs. He's in blue. He's not in that pink sash, so I'm assuming he's not an ace. So they did a good job on the color palette. It makes it so freaking clear who our aces are. But the real question would be, when it comes to really, really good choreo, which sometimes it's okay if you don't navigate this way, you don't inherently need to have your outfits look so blatantly different in order for us to clock who your aces, right? But the outfits sure help, and I'm not one who shies away from it, but it's a risk. But here, if they didn't have the costumes they had, would we have clocked them? I mean, I feel like one out of the two aces for sure. So he hops down. So we have the prep. He drops it. So they're down on the sides and they hold. He has a little energy moment. He props it and then he drops. Dancers run away. There's just it's just pretty messy how they kind of curtain transitioned away. We have a nice little kick out from our next feature. I love his fit. I think out of all of them, I think I really like that one. I think I'd wear that to do like a K-pop cover or something in my kitchen, but it's so fun. Yeah, he goes, but try in. Now maybe I wouldn't get Boy London. I'll say girl, what is it? Girl France. I don't know. But yeah. Curious. Oh, is he setting? He's setting up for the camera shot. Now that stuff. He's sitting there for a long time. I understand why he had to get there early, but it's just not concealed at all because of the colors of the lights, which is just unfortunate. And all of this with the dancers with their masks, they just don't look clean. They don't look. Yeah, they're just not refined, and so they're really not helping the boys as much as some of the other dancers in the other groups are. So that's my note to the choreography team. I really wish that we had more prep time to allow the more fluency of cohesion with our dancers, at least practicing in the masks, if that's really the bigger concern in all this. So that's unfortunate. They switch it and they switch it. They go high, they go and they frame it up to down, which is nice. They do punch, punch. And then we have a camera moment here, completely ignoring the audience, which I know they're not the first group to do, but you know me, it's not my favorite kind of thing that you could do. At least some members of groups are at least looking front whenever we see camera come out, but yeah, that's unfortunate. I'm kind of like, what's happening? I see something happening over here, but there's so much going on over here. And then all of a sudden we have our Mr. Cheshire Cat Tempest ace number 2 coming in hot, right? Yeah, and the little slide across is fine. And then look, we have our aces. We have our second ace, but he hasn't been featured really in any way yet. And they're not centered. So that's just a color palette balance preference for me. And I talk about it so much when I look at choreography and formations. There's just a big note. Dancers are still not moving. So it makes it pretty clean. And this actually may give a really great example. I've talked about this whenever we've judged Mega Cruise before in the circuit. When it comes to your textiles and what you wear, a lot of times when you do choose to go unison in choreography, what happens is if everybody's wearing different fabrics with different pulls and different heaviness and how they feel and how they work with the material and how it works on the movement, what'll happen is sometimes the range will look off, even if your range in your bodies, if you're all wearing the same thing, is right. So that's always the risk you run when you go heavy individual on these types of choices. You run into that problem. And so with our dancers, they're all wearing the same thing. So it's really just they're just not as clean as they need to be for a competition. So that's a big thing. They go down and then they hit around. The range is still off on everybody. They hit up and then they da-da-da from one side to the other side. Definitely felt a little bit more of like a house influence on that, but I wouldn't really give it that. Do a little body roll with some tension. One of our guys moves forward. That feels like an ace transition, not a regular member transition with him going there. But then you have one of your aces who's still your first main ace right there. We still haven't even... In the first minute 16, we haven't even considered our second ace yet. So that's going to be a big note on the performance direction or how the song's arranged or what. I don't know why we're not choosing to really put equal performance in both. I gave that note to Unite. I'm going to give the note here to Tempest. You want, if it's a two-part ace, that means they both carry the same amount of responsibility. So that's going to be something, I don't know if that's a factor in the ace scoring, but it would be for me in my ranking if I was in the audience. Now that's our first, there we go, we have our feature, let's go. Yeah, I like the tension on those Harlems, da-da-da, Harlem Shake, tension on the tail end, really nice, and they pull it through, that was nice, but notice some of our dancers, their range is just off, man, and they swing it through, and they have the little pulse on the end with the feet, nothing crazy, they drop down, I like the subtlety with the head, but some of our dancers are choosing to pull up with their torso, not just their head, so that's a note I'm giving them. They give me that bass, boom, na-na-na-na-na-na-na. And it also could be because of the busyness in the back. There's just so much that we're receiving. It's the same thing as when we get so much choreo in our face, we can't digest it. There's so much to visually take in, we can't digest it very well. So that's going to be a note on like the LEDs. Just there's a lot of like direction that could have been maneuvered in a different way, and because we're not technically diving into this whimsical world and actually providing any function or purpose behind it outside of it just being a decoration, I think that's why it's kind of working against them versus for them. And they punch and they hit it over down with the lock. I like that. And then they go do little twirls with the switch of the weight is nice. Little pulse and the pulse and the pulse with the buildup of the arms was really nice. That was a clean moment. They punch over it. That's a really nice gimmick on the guitar. I'm definitely a fan of that. And he brings it through, and they have this moment. And that's the end. So I understand, if I'm being honest, this does give that like London grunge vibe, right, of the fits. And having that type of guitar, maybe that's what we were tailoring to. And then we use more of the lighter, gregarious toned colors in order for us to do the Can't Stop Shining, because that's a similar color palette in their music video visual, right? So they drop down. So you have this clock ticking. We're not recognizing the clocks there. We're not, you know, really paying attention to the LED at all. And I don't think you really have to, but I don't know. I kind of wish that we were, you know, in the beginning, if we were acting in some way, staying consistent in our choice. If we're going to act, try to act the whole time. If we're not going to act, then don't. So that's my note there. A little boom. And now it's darker. It says, let's go. Now we decided to go for another dance break. And I said my piece about the last time we saw Tempest do a dance break for Maniac. It didn't quite match. It didn't feel like there was any purpose outside of just doing movement, which is what we're seeing here. The hops were nice, and we drop it down. The only reason why I'm seeing my aces are because of what they're wearing, not because of their feature moments at this section. The punches are fine. They look great. We have some setups going on back there. So at least here, the color palette, you can see your aces clearly, right? Because of the colors, which is cool. They hit it over, so that was pretty decent. So he hops, he completely misses the last two guys. And how they're leaned over, my assumption, and how they're bracing themselves is he was meant to go do right there against their backs. We're gonna double check that though. Ding, 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 ding. There's sounds that he could have justified it with. I don't know, but he didn't clear it there. The dance practice is going to tell the receipts for that, because I bet you they would have shown it there if he did it. So I don't know if they're going to feel satisfied with this performance, and that's unfortunate, because I feel that I want any group that performs on a show of any kind, especially if it's competitive, I want them to feel good about their challenges, even if I personally don't rank it as high in my own personal rankings. At the end of the day, it's art. It's subjective. Art is subjective. People's perspectives are subjective, and we're putting subjectivity in the eyes of the national global public, where we have our own subjective schemas of criteria and how we judge things. For me, I have a more culturally accepted objective line of sight that a lot of people reference. So it does make more sense a lot of times, the kind of notes I give. But my note does still stand, though. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if I like it or not, or if it's a hot mess, or if it's all perfectly clean. It can score any way depending on how the audience feels, how they felt in the space, how many fans are there, how the camera shots look. There's so many factors in this, right? I hope that they enjoyed their time. I don't know if they did, though, because I did notice that big moment. I don't know. It did feel like that they're pushing, and they're fighting, but it's not working. It's kind of backfiring a little bit. It feels like that. The pickup there, a little brush there, so it goes hit, 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 cool, and the little hair accent is nice. And hits it over, dun, dun, dun. Cool, and we hit it boom, 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 boom with a nice accent, and then we have our 2 aces, which thank you. I like having our ace moment here. We do have a lot of our dancers still wearing those masks. I hope they practice with them more than day of. I think that's going to be my hope there. So they have this moment, but this is a really good example. I mentioned it. I think it was Crew 1 set last challenge. Can you see their legs? Because I can't. Not very well, and that's because of what they're wearing and the color of the lights and how they chose to shine them there. So that's a note there. I mean, if you watch Stage Fighter, my 4-hour analysis of all the choreographs, God bless America, that was a lot. I'm so sorry for that, but that was a note. That's something that some of the dancers, their pants are black and you can't see some of their extensions because the background's black too. But that's a complete side topic. But that kind of stuff does matter, because if you're forcing me to work so hard to look at what you want me to look at, then that may not work in your favor, and I can't appreciate the focal points you do want me to watch. But then even look here, I don't understand why we have so many different postures and how we're choosing to hold ourselves when we have our members that are in these obviously different textile fits. We want them to shine, and I know the song is Can't Stop Shining. I want to see them shine, and I don't want it to feel like it's just messy, right? Or it doesn't feel complete. It feels like we're just doing the most and none of it's helping, you know? Hitting it through that little fan was cool, and then you have your dancers come in. The punches were fine. Then you have your members kind of standing there. Hit, hit, hit. Fine. They go with a throw. And then the boom, 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 boom. Boom. Yeah, oh, they're hitting a guitar. With the syncopation of the arms. That makes sense. Okay. And he hits it. Little reverb on the end. And then they all basket, run away. And then it's Wonderland. Cool. They open it. He has his moment. So maybe this looks really cool on camera. I'm really hoping for that, because it's not... The glitter was really cool. I mean, part of me wanted to see that, like, in the beginning, right? Where he, like, falls and there's glitter left. Like, that would have been so cool, right? Man, anyway. But they're holding. Nothing's really crazy happening. And now we see somebody walk up. And he's like trying to trot, like we can't see him, but we see his silhouette very, very clearly. But that's a really, really cool shot. But we can't appreciate it, right? So a lot of really cool moments we can't see as an audience. So I personally feel like it may not help as much. A little trot. And then we have these little fans they're walking on, kind of giving these little jellyfish vibes. I love these fans. They're so fun to work with. Then we have this opposition. We go click, 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 click. Then they pull and bring it back in. So of course we have a nice little environmental visual. This is nice. So light it up. So light it up. So I'm assuming they may have changed some of the sounds in the back, you know, but the BPM is pretty similar. So we're gonna kind of note that. Arrangement, it's not this, if we're just ranking off of arrangements, it's not going to be the top ranking for that, but that's okay. Well, he has his moment and he is exposed, and they said hello. That was actually a pretty decent reveal, not too crowded, very clear, and that was a really nice moment. And then you have your dancers, bless them, they can't see anything. They have those little ski masks on. No, just can't stop the shining. The turn is fine, and they nice little hop out of it. And then you have some of your dancers, they're just not doing full range. And when you have fans, if you want to look at a great example of fanography, ONEUS' Luna is probably one of the best examples, which is like that's the blessing and the curse. If they choose to do Luna on stage and they choose to have those fans, they're held to the same standard of a live one-take performance. Here, if you notice, the fans and the ribbon, it's the same problem that you're running into with everybody wearing different fits. And it's not like the cleanest, really. I would say Tempest is pretty clean, but can you appreciate it because of all these crazy angles, these fan you know, fabric is. No, you can't. And that's really, really unfortunate. Coming through, and we don't have our dancers dropping a level or anything here. I think it helped whenever they did, but it's just, that was a nice visual. It was cool. If everything was clean, I think it'd be way better received. And so that's a big, big note. They kick, okay, a little sturdy moment, and then we go into a little shuffle right here. It's cute, and then we go a little heel toe, and we kind of point out to the sky. Can't stop, won't stop, just can't stop shining. And then we have this moment, and then we have our dancers run like the wind, and then we have some of them here. And there's a lot of these anticlimactic drops. So these is about the second or third time where it's just dropped out, and we're like, are we finished? Are we not? You know, it's teetering to that time. Then we're deciding to go to the bridge. Nah. So the fans are fun. But the fans are really elegant and pretty for how whimsically wild these dancers look, you know. I'm so curious about the behind the scenes on this, I'm telling you. And they look over, yeah, da 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 da. Cool. And they go, and it goes shining over. We have confetti. Confetti, I understand, it makes it feel we're so happy, we're enjoying our time, but man, does it make it more and more cluttered on stage because we haven't been allowed any sense of uniformity to appreciate the movement quality or to appreciate the concept they were attempting to go for, and we're adding these colorful confettis to drop down. It's just making my eyesight or my line of sight on what to look at. I have no idea where you want me to look, and you know, is that going to help with your aces? Even having their outfits so contrastingly different, it's still hard to find your aces at times, right? Which is crazy to me. And they push down, and boom, boom. And then we have our guys just walk up with these garbage cans, little fog things, right? And it's a party, and then it's still a party. And we're choosing for the rest of it. I don't think we have like choreo. We have this, right? But the rest of the last chorus is no choreo at all, which I couldn't appreciate because I couldn't appreciate the actual choreo when I got it. So the little touches were fine. This is pretty clean, but we have the confetti now, so it's just still hard to appreciate. Now they have these little fog things. Can you see it? I mean, kind of, because you also have this little night sky, this purpley pink skyline. Here we go. Now there's our choreo. Boom, so bright, so bright. It's a party, so bright, so bright. And then we have these guys partying hard in the top. Oh man, it kind of reminds me of the trumpet players and Hyolin's set for. It was one of the sets she did. It was when they had that 2-leveled LED thing, right? That very first stage. It was a huge note I gave there. It just felt very discombobulated. I want to appreciate this so much, and my heart hurts at the fact that I'm finding a lot of constructive things about it. But I really love this song, guys. You don't understand. This is such a fun song. And then this part here, you notice the range is just so off on some of our dancers, right? And then some of our members and their preps on this. It could be because it's so slippery now for the sheer amount of confetti. Just can't stop shining. And the spacing is super off too. The cheers, and then we have the shh on the end. Cool, it's a party. It is interesting. That one, whenever I was remembering Unites, the storyline felt a little bit, the shift was a little bit off. And here, I really feel like there wasn't a storyline kind of at all. Or if there was, it really was difficult to read. And it is not because I'm unfamiliar with Alice in Wonderland. It is because we didn't, maybe that was their goal, is to make it as discombobulated as possible. If that is the case, they won that for sure. And maybe using Alice in Wonderland is a perfect little middle ground for that. But those are the things I have to say about this. And it's unfortunate. That's a lot of my notes are really tailored towards the movement direction, the lighting choices. There's a lot of things that I think could have been workshopped to make it flow a little bit better. And I also know they're already operating at a disadvantage. When you do choose to go a more positive type of concept, it is harder to score better on this show. And I think they knew that going in as well. All right, we have ONEUS' No Diggity. I already heard there's a chance this is a Mad Max reference just based on their ONEUS theater lore that they've been going down the pipeline on. So I have my suspicions on how this is going to go. Let's go. Ready. So bedazzled. He's a walking disco ball. Oh my god. He lost his balance, but he held it. Oh, I hate how stable he is when he does stuff like that. So they chose to go bedazzle, bedazzle on the aces. Look at that crump influence. Da 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 da. Yeah. Oh my god. Oh, come on. Nice transition out. They took a note out of A-Turn's book on the prop transition. I really like the arrangement on this. This sounds so 80s coded, doesn't it? In a very complimentary way. Listen to the sound. There you go. Yay. Hey. Guada on that. I think my only note I'm gonna give this is they needed to switch. They need to switch Lino with Pong, because he's the ace in this. And just have him switch at the end. Oh, yep. Cool. Cool. All right, you know what's really funny about this is that this made more sense to me, even though I understood the concept less. Now, I understand, I did my homework, guys. I read the synopsis on the Mad Max franchise. I understand it's like a societal, future Australian societal collapse, economic, dystopian era where you have the main character does he help people combat the system, or does he go on his merry way? Like that kind of vibe, Here in this case, did that read? I mean, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, though, compared to the 3, I'm very familiar with the first 2, and this one felt more cohesive. So, a lot of you guys, I'm going to be real, some of you guys who were like, Jess, you just didn't know the concept, that's why you didn't get it. I can still technically not get it and know the concept. And I think it just goes down the line on how you choose to frame it. And I think that's okay that I gave the notes that I gave. Everybody's subjected to that. No one is safe from the honesty of that. Here, this is very well done. I can see them place very high on this because of the singability, The fact he is just covered like a disco ball is incredible. Like, that's really the only thing that takes me out of it. It's just such the contrast of having somebody so shiny. I guess he's like a national treasure, possibly that. You know, something along those lines. But they're taking him, they're moving forward, throwing him down. Oh, also, side note, even though I made my reference about how it gives it AT's coded vibes, please be mindful. I'm saying that complimentary. I'm not saying it as, oh, they have their own, they did this long before AT's or whatever. Like, guys, it's fine. You know, I think with this looks great. And I like what AT's does well. They did this very well. It's just, I just love the dystopian, angsty rebellion stuff. And I think this is really, really well done in the sense of the aggression, and they met the energy of it. So he's here, he's all angsty and sad, and so they're all sitting here. He's been captured. They're all like, ah, cool. Now the real question is this. So we have this prop that's being moved forward. It does look like it's a whole arsenal of people. Are they coming to his rescue, or are they coming because they're in charge of these people? That's the kind of question we don't quite know. But he's wearing a similar fit as them, right? The light is really cool. That's a really good usage of your light in the back to kind of make it look like headlights. That's cool. So they've grabbed him. Now from there, maybe they've come in. That's what it looks like. They're coming in, and then our dancer's like, oh crap, he's here. They try to grab him. And then he's, you know, in bondage. And then they're all really, and I love the abstract poses from some of our people. And I love just this freaking, just the fact he's got freaking, what is it, sparks coming out of the guitar is awesome. And the hit down is cool. Dollars. And I go from one side to the other. We love it. And then look, they have their aces in symmetry. So you've already established a storyline or whatever with your first ace. Second ace, he's like, we're coming to your rescue. So I like that. And then you have your other guys, they're still in a similar color, but it's a different textile. This is a really great example of doing it right, because they still look like one unified group. Your dancers are their own opposing group, but they have some subtlety behind it to where you have your members stand out naturally because they're freaking disco balls, right? And the throws are cool. I like the range on this. Also, the dancers are doing their job. They're clean. They're doing what they need to do in order for it to be cohesive. That is my note I gave to Tempest dancers. They did not help Tempest as much as I think they needed to on the cleanliness in order for the story to progress. A little pump, 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 pump. I love the vibration just rebounds on that. Really fun. He takes it over. It did get caught a smidge. So I think there's some mechanic, like logistics, that kind of got a little bit, but they did it. They handled him very, very well. So the slow runaways, of course, I always say, you can only do so much on stage. So it's not a true basket run. That's just a get out of shot, get out of frame. Walking forward is cool. So look, now they're all running. They're being held by these dancers. I love that. The commitment right there is freaking sick. Running forward. Is it like a little, it's like a little bungee. I love the little pull on that. The resistance. Yeah, and then one of our dancers, yeah. I didn't quite see the third one, but I saw the first two, which is cool. And then right there, they take it, they pull it off. Really nice on the transitions. A lot of logistics, like I said. There was a lot of magic tricks that we saw from Crew 1. A lot of like actual like bungees and ties and metal and pyrotechnics, handheld stuff, you know, coming in here. And this is really fun. This feels like a finale. They held it down very, very well. So this right here, he almost fell, right? But he's still singing live. And they're holding him around, trying their best. He had to do a little hobble. So this quite wasn't the most effective kind of choice, but I liked the attempt at the gimmick. And he still was stable, and he still stood there. He didn't actually fall and hurt himself. I'm always thankful for that. Walk forward. So now we have just some of our people, you know, walking. We have Lino coming in, right? And then he didn't even miss a beat. It makes me mad how like stable this guy is. I'm telling you. And they pull him, really good transition, and then they march. And so he ends up coming from the corner, which is fine. Great performance quality from him. He stands out. I'm actually surprised he wasn't our feature in this with Huanwu, which is fine. The pony there, I like the ponies. Look at the contrast and levels. Thank you. This is the kind of stuff that I always appreciate. Your members are great. They stick out. We love that. But make it easier for us to clock them, not just have to rely upon costume alone. So I like the levels dropping down so you can see the members transition, but then you can also see dancers complement your feature. That's freaking sick, guys. We love that, right? And then look, this feels like an environmental LED where you still have an intention and purpose set behind the prop that you chose to keep on stage. So that's the kind of stuff. There's been some teams just throughout the competition, not talking about this one in particular, that sometimes the LED just doesn't match the storyline or it's not progressing where you want it to progress. And so a lot of things that I gave notes on ONEUS are heavily corrected here. And I'm not saying they listen to me at all. No. That's just naturally what happens whenever you compete, is you refine, you look, you analyze, you listen to the masses at times if you have the opportunity to. And from there, you're able to make better judgment calls, right? Because note, their ace got first, but their performance didn't get first as a team. So they want to refine and get better at that because they want to win first in the competition, not just make it finals, which I love the drive and I love their competitiveness this season. That is so commendable to them and it makes me really happy to see them here. So the punch, boom, doo, 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 doo. Not quite the cleanest with the dancers though, but they showed a lot of clean formations and structures to where that's a little bit more forgiving than some of the other things we've seen. I like the attention, boom, then boom, boom, twist so they're up. I love that they come up and they take the bandanas and they bring it over and they use a bandana to slice them. Good commitment from the dancers. I don't know if you heard my neck pop, but I did, but it did. They hit it little whoosh. There's a sound to recognize it. We love it. They hit it over. So all this, the aggression is so freaking wild. And we have a huge, like, look at the freedom of that. Everybody using the red. They're having their own crump session on stage is what this feels like, right? And then they do a little just head on that. I love the intention on that. Then they go boom, boom, nice syncopation on the bass. Da 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 da. So they throw and then they bleed inside to outside, very clear. And they also have an extension prop where it's a fabric, and so if somebody's off on either the hand they have it in or the timing, it can really throw off the visual, and they do a really good job here. And I think honestly they got a good LED that kind of allows some grace on that red, which is smart. And because they're shiny, you can still clock them, which is cool. Now this is nice because notice, haha, your aces are mirrored. Thank you for that. Yeah, da 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 da. Now I love the head banging on this, and then you have this little, you know, sandstorm in the back with a skull. It's giving like metal concert, which actually ties into what they're doing here. Grabbing on the mouth, they literally look like they're just freaking bodying this. And the subtlety from your other members was really cool. Yeah, so I would say like he's really doing a good job. I think that's my biggest thing is I'm surprised he wasn't our ace here as our second one. I was kind of surprised by that, but they all hold it down well, and Mar ace is freaking ace, right? That's cool. So and go side to side, love that. So they go up and then down, then you have them still low. And then they have that click, 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 click. I mean, you have your members just walk away because they give that, like, we're just taking care of business. Like, how they're moving in the space. Does it feel like, okay, I'm getting to my next spot? It's a, I'm done here. Let's go take care of some business elsewhere. They're maintaining character. And I think, could that be because of the concept they chose allows for that kind of forgiveness in their transition? That could be a genuine possibility as well. So that, and they go and they melt down. Now I love the fact that we, instead of having just one guitar, we have two guitar solos, party of us, and then you have your dancers. They have the red accented fabrics, or this little, their bandanas, and then you had the every other on that, so it felt popcorn, but they also were responsive to the two aces. This is a really nice way to show off your aces, but tie in something that you used in the beginning and didn't forget about. It's nice. I like the little wah, wah, wah. That's cool. This is fun. Even though I know they're not playing those guitars realistically, there's so many other visuals that balance that out. And they run away. Look, they're literally running. Please stop playing guitar. And they're like, okay, fine. Now there's that slow-mo. All right. Now this part. This doesn't feel as off-putting as typical ace dance breaks that we've seen in this challenge. And I think a reason why is listen to the composition, how they arranged it. Look at the LEDs, how they complement. They're basically doing an inversion negative effect to what, not negative like in negative impact, but negative where it's not red, it's white now on the screen. And you still have red lasers that tie into the red color scheme that they've already set up in the concept, right? It's cool. So the da-da-da-da-da-da, so that's cool. He has this moment, he hits it up. Do I think we could have used dancers as an environmental factor, like speed change, slow-mo, something? Possibly. There's always that. You always run the risk of it feeling empty on stage. I would have to be there to really know if it really felt that way. We only have a camera. The tension there is fine, but it makes sense why the dancers went off stage. Why? Because they have flags, they're coming back on. And they were only gone for about an 8 count. This is an environmental choice. I love that ba, 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 really fun accent there. And it was only for about 2 8 counts, maybe 3 if that. So they have the flags. So it's super chill right here. Then you have this little red graffiti. So you have this little lore integrated of like, if you're a fan of ONEUS, you can see that. We are heroes, right? So we're here for the cause. We decided to stay and not go on our merry way. Really decent job on the flags. High risk on it, just like we saw with the fans, with Tempest. You just have a risk on it when the range is off. And I know one of my guys, his fabric on the flag got caught in his hand, and you got to see that a little bit on his range being affected. So the walking forward, then you have your 2 aces, then bring it up right there. Notice that? It got caught, so he tried to fix it, and they shake it, and he just had to stand. So that's my note that I'm giving him. It's life, it happens. Not, what is it? We are heroes, not the devils. And for that, I mean, can that tie into some of their previous stuff? That's like a little Easter egg is what it feels like, right? Anyways, but how they hit it. There's devil right here. Yeah. You notice that we are heroes, not devils, but they have devils on the flags. It's very, very fascinating. Does that tie into No Diggity? Possibly. They have a lot of imagery like that, which is fine. But I appreciate that he just gave up and just held it and just went with it. That's fine. And they said, let's go. Ba, ba, da, da. Really nice. The throw. I love the flags on this. Now, this is why it felt this feels very 80s to me, because I think in my neck of the woods, the new to me material that I've looked at, I've seen their, what is it? They've had, Halazia. They've had a huge, like, rebellion against the system lore with ATs, and they were like my second marathon I ever did, which we go way back, right? And so they also had something similar to that in one of their sets. It was like a money heist influence set from Kingdom Legendary War with all the sirens and stuff. So, or the megaphone. So I think that's where I'm getting that from, or I'm catching that. Absolutely fine. If anything, it feels like they're neighbors in the same universe. Everybody can have a space there, and that's great, because they're freaking doing a great job holding it down. We should be proud of it. Now this is a way to work a crowd. I love it. And look at the environmental transitions. It's very subtle, but still effective. You have movement going on in the back, but it doesn't feel distracting because it's still red color palette. We've already kind of been exposed subconsciously to it, which is really cool. He says, come on, let's go. And then we said, let's go ahead and headbang. We have this nice little heavy orchestra being played in. Triumphant, right? Hey, they said, let's go. And then you still have the fans. Sorry, not the fans, the flags. The dancers are freaking going in. They're like, let's go. And also part of me does like the fact we have a lot of the ladies like pull in a lot of the resisting or the triumphant kind of flag bearing. It's really nice. Normally you see the guys take on that role, but I really like it that it's the girls doing that. It's cool. It's very subtle. I don't know if that was a conscious choice of theirs, but I like it. It's nice. Now here, you have 2 of them already on their little motorcycles right here. Now here's why this works. You have 2 of them on the sides. Now you do have your ace kind of stranded over here. You know, so that would kind of be, I don't know, my note there, where I would kind of like the aces to be involved on this, but that's fine. You hear that? That's a motorcycle, and that's what we hear, is we see that there. Dancers are there on the side. They're not being distracting. Yes, we're basket running. I get it. Part of me wishes that they were marching, but that's life. So they drop out of it. Easy transition. Not easy, but definitely clean on the transition. Like the little headlights right here. That was cool. And having the flag in the LED is so smart. Great work on that. And then he hops there. Now this is my biggest note that I'm giving right here, is that we should have had our ace be right here. He should have been here, and he should have been here. His energy can hold center mighty fine. He's shown that time and time again, especially in the last challenge. And so for me, I would really want our centers to be you know, balanced, because here you can run into the problem of having this ace overshadow this ace, because they're doing a great job on structuring the, you know, the quality until here. I think it's my big note that I'm giving it. And now all of a sudden it's snowing. If there's a Mad Max reference that I'm missing, that's probably a lot. That's okay. That's okay, right? So, but I'm still like, give credit where credit is due. This is really well structured. Yeah, I love this step where they're traveling the energy up from the legs up to the chest, and we accent it over. And then we go pulse, 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 which is nice with the flags. Love the flags, creating an extra level for us to appreciate. And we take it, love that little whoa. Now there's a moving crump called a whoa, and that's what that feels like, because we've already showcased a degree of a crump posture, which is nice to see. A little pull, boom, hey, come on, I'm ready. And then right there, it felt like a little sturdy transition. I like the spacing out. Now, this part doesn't quite feel that structured, very similar to Tempest. Why does this one feel more accepted than theirs? Theirs never felt clean. This one did. So for me, I had that unison and the uniformity satisfied for me for a set, so I was able to appreciate when they deviated. And it didn't feel like they didn't know what was going on, or that they just hadn't rehearsed it like Tempest set. Once again, not talking about Tempest, I'm talking about all the other factors that were going in there. So I like that little dig there. They go for, I like the opposing sides. Now, why did we choose to go about it in the way where we had, like, we could have had our aces be on the opposite sides? I think that would have helped in the symmetry better, right? Because it's not like our members over here are opposing our members over here. I think that's my thing. Now that right there, the lower half gives guada, and you have your torso hitting it, but the accent on this is really nice. It's clean, and I love my dance. Yes, dancers, 2, 3, they're freaking going for it. And I like how they subtly angle it towards the middle on that outside part as well with our dancers in formation. And they're using an environment with some lightning to help actually cater to the pyrotechnics. These match the guitar pyrotechnics in the beginning. So I like how that kind of feels like a bookend instead of just having one. We have 4, which is cool. The swing in the opposition, yes, they do make it a smidgen distracted. We can't quite see the fullness of what's going on. But I think at this point, decisions have been made. Hitting it through. It did feel like we were about to do a hit them, folks, but we didn't. So we go, we dig it in, boom, and then we travel the energy down. We go down, bum, 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 bum. Now we go, we travel it, boom, towards the center. He has this moment. And then right here, there's your ace hanging out over here on stage left. Now, what is the intention behind this logo? Is it a Mad Max reference? Is it something along those lines? Is it foreshadowing a future thing in lore? I don't know. It just intrigues me, personally. I'm curious if you guys have any theories on that. A little boom, boom. I think timing was a smidgen off with one of our aces on that. That's whatever. Hey, energy is so full and really well done on keeping the energy consistent from beginning to end. This doesn't feel like we're worn. It feels like we're just continuing to push energy, but they are creating contrast. They're not just shoving it in my face for 4 minutes. They're building and building and building. And now we're at the climactic place. Okay, where are we going? You're sending it to a place where it's like, oh, I'm there. You got to take me with you, right? They hit it over. It's really fun, and then you have your ace just pop on there. How it got up there was interesting. Now, it fell down, so that wasn't supposed to happen. He's waiting for it. The dancer helped pull it up. And then he goes, he pulls it, matches timing. Now, was he supposed to wave it or something before? Possibly. That's life, though. I'm glad he at least catered to timing so it didn't feel off. How he climbed up, though. I love how he climbed up. It's literally like the coolest parkour way you could, besides like flipping up there, right? But they still have a lot of energy down here. It didn't feel like a distraction, right? He felt like he didn't feel like he was setting up either. It was just another little transition of, I'm just kind of doing my thing. You know, it felt very conversational in a very intriguing, rebellious way. And he goes high to low. And then he has his moment. And then they're like, I'm just going to need to take a nap. It's kind of what that feels there. They're all nice and low. Your aces, of course, are matching their levels. Way to go, dancers, on this. I love how they're all glued against the car, the truck. I love the little heart. That was such an angsty way to show affection and fan service to the fan base. That was fun. Wow, that was really, really, really enjoyable. I liked that a lot, for sure. Very finale, finished. Okay, so if I'm recalling what I remember from last week, the groups that went, I mean, it's all the groups that weren't here went before. I think YOUNITE went before we started this little session of analysis. We also had CRAVITY. We had the THENEWSIX. And then, of course, we had Crew 1 that went. They went here. 1, Yeah, Tempest, and then 8 turn went first. And then finishing with ONEUS. Okay, so if I'm thinking, comes to team ranking, I think CRAVITY set was really nice. I do think that they have, I don't know, there's some of their choices that I feel that didn't cater to the audience, so that could affect their score in some way. If I'm being honest, I can see ONEUS be a contender for first place for team. For ace, I can see it going to 8 turn. That's a good option. I also think Crew 1 did a really good job on their ace representation. I would say in the bottom tier for this challenge, I unfortunately would have to place I'll probably put Tempest down there, and I hate saying that, guys. Like, it's not them. Here's the thing: at the end of the day, regardless of how I rank these, it doesn't negate the beauty of the fact we get to see them explore and challenge themselves, and they're subjecting themselves to the public eye, and that's a very, very courageous thing to do. And yes, just because you sign up to be an idol, it doesn't mean that you're just mentally prepared to just handle these types of challenges. This is not a day-to-day normal thing at all. It's an expedited, high-stress environment, heavily manipulated by whatever narrative Mnet chooses to offer the audience, right? So I am very, very hopeful that groups that you know, are on the lower end, I hope that they score well. I just want it to be competitive to where it's not just I don't want groups getting screwed over by any means, but I also don't want a group to be so devastated by just scoring so low we don't even have a chance to fight in the ace versus ace, you know, battle. I want there to at least make it a close call. You know, I think that's kind of my thing. I always want everybody to be at their best, because it just makes it such an enjoyable thing, and it kind of takes you out of the competition in a great way. So I think that's kind of my underlying thoughts. But I think ONEUS, for what my notes were for last week, were completely corrected here. This was really, really nice. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch. So by the time this gets released on YouTube, I would have watched the episode already, and so I may have refined feedback. And I really appreciate the respect in the comments for the discussions. I know a lot of you guys agreed with my thoughts from the last challenge, and some heavily disagreed, and I think that's the beauty of just having different viewpoints and different perspectives. Just like you guys took the time to watch and then provide your perspective and grace to me, I want to extend the same courtesy to you guys. And even if I didn't get to every comment and respond, it doesn't mean I haven't read it. And so I appreciate the fact you even take the time to provide feedback. It allows me to be better, and it allows me to appreciate the groups in ways that I wouldn't if we wouldn't have these conversations. So once again, my name is Jess, and I will catch you on the flip side. Bye.